In last week's PhotoPills Friday, we learned all about the Sun and Moon position panel, how to activate the Sun and Moon map layers, and how to use azimuth and elevation to know where the Sun or Moon's position is. Today, we will learn about 3 other top panels in the planner that also relate to planning your Sun and Moon images, so stay tuned. Hey there, photographers, Brenda Petrella here, and welcome to another episode of PhotoPills Friday, where we unlock the power of the PhotoPills app to help you improve your outdoor photography and to help you learn PhotoPills without all the confusion. Welcome to part 2 of how to plan a sun or moon image. Today we will learn about the other sun and moon panels of the top bar of the planner before we then plan a sun or moon image in our next lesson. So let's dive in. The first panel that we're going to review today is the Twilights Panel, which is the 5th panel on the top bar, so scroll to that now. The little icon on the left looks like a series of colorful bars from orange to blue. You can toggle this icon on and off to activate or deactivate the corresponding map layer, which just shows you 3 different twilights in various shades of blue and golden hour in a shade of orange by overlaying the different colors on the map. It's actually easiest to see what this looks like if we zoom way out on the map. When we do that, we can now see 3 shades of blue corresponding to astronomical, nautical, and civil twilights, and the orange for golden hour. Note that these colors also correspond to the colors on the timeline. Also note that I'm using an iPhone, and I don't think that this zoomed out view is yet available on Android, but you should still be able to see the color overlays on the map even when you're zoomed in. These colors are just a nice visual for seeing the changes in twilight to blue hour to golden hour, and it's really just up to you whether you want to keep these on or not. The top panel lists out the morning and evening twilights for the set time and date, and this info is here regardless of whether the map layer is activated. Now let's scroll the top panel to the left to go to the next top panel, which does not have an icon. It's actually just basically a continuation of the previous panel, and it gives you the morning and evening times for blue hour and golden hour. Blue hour overlaps somewhat with civil twilight, and these panels are helpful for planning early morning or late evening shots. Okay, now let's move on to the next panel. Scroll the top panel to the right to go backwards to the 4th panel of the top bar. Depending on when your time and date are set, you may see a different icon than that's on my phone right now, and that's okay. We'll go over the icons that you'll see in this panel in just a second. This panel is the sun or moon rise and set panel, and it tells you when the sun and moon are rising and setting. So the yellow upward pointing arrow shows the time for the sunrise, for the set date, and also the azimuth of the sunrise. The downward orange arrow shows the time of the azimuth of sunset. The blue downward arrow shows the time and azimuth for moonset, and the light blue upward arrow is showing the time and azimuth for moonrise. We went over what the azimuth was in the last episode, and so if you're unsure what it is or you're still confused about it, maybe go back and check it out. Much of the information that we just went over in these couple of different panels at the top can be found in the widgets on your phone for your current time and location. If you would like to activate the widgets, I show you how to do that in episode 1, so check it out if you haven't yet. The icon of the rise and set panel is clickable, and you can toggle forward in time to notable phases of the moon by clicking on the icon. This is one way that you can basically skip forward to the next phase of the moon without having to look up the time and date in the moon calendar. If you want to skip backwards in time, you just double tap the icon. Here is an example of what icons you may find as you toggle through them and what they mean. So, for example, when the moon is full and bright, it's the full moon, and when it's a solid blue circle, it's a new moon during the day, or if it's a solid black circle, it's a new moon during the night. Now, it can be confusing or hard to remember what the icons mean in this panel, and so I've put together a little PhotoPills icon cheat sheet that you can download if you haven't already, and the link is in the description below. Okay, on to our final top panel, which is the shadow length calculator. But before we get there, let's first return to the sun and moon position panel that we reviewed in last week's video. Here, we want to make sure that we have both the sun and moon map layers activated. So again, just tap on the icon until a bright half yellow, half blue circle appears, and you should see the yellow and blue lines on the map. Now scroll the top bar 2 times to the right and get to the leftmost panel of the top bar. This is the shadow length calculator. It will only work if the sun and or moon layers are already on, which is why we made sure they were on before we came here. You would use this panel if you were interested in knowing the length and path of an object's shadow cast by either the sun or the moon. So for instance, if you were doing a time lapse and you wanted to include the shadow, or if you wanted to be sure that your subject's shadow was fully in frame when you took your shot, then this would be a useful tool. To turn it on, just tap the icon and you will see it turn to a brighter color, just as we've seen with other icons when we toggle them on and off. You will need to know the height of your subject to use this calculator. So if you don't know it, you'll have to do a little research to figure it out. Also, if you want to change whether you are in empirical or metric units, all you have to do is hit the back button to get back to the main menu section, click on My Stuff, then click on Settings, and at the top there you can set your units to metric or imperial units. And then you can go back to the pills and the planner and make sure you are still on the shadow length calculator. You can move the red pin in multiple ways, which we'll go over in a future video, but for just this example, click on the Load button on the bottom panel of the planner. In the search bar, type the Statue of Liberty and click on it. Now the red pin is at the Statue of Liberty. I personally think it's easiest to see this map if it's set to satellite, so go into the Map Settings button. Under Map Type, click on Satellite, click Done, and now you should see a satellite image of the Statue of Liberty. And you can replace the pin to make sure you're right at the top there. The height of the Statue of Liberty is 305 feet or 93 meters. I can now then enter that information by clicking on the object height in the top panel, type in 305 feet and hit save. Now our object height is set and the shadow length is calculated based on the time and date setting in the timeline. You can also see the shadow line, which looks like a dark gray line on the map. The shadow line gets longer as the sun gets closer to the horizon, as you would expect. Now, sometimes there's also a shadow cast by the moon, and if you have the moon layer activated, which we do, then you will see the shadow line and length of the shadow at night as well, so long as the moon is up. The ratio of the shadow length relative to the object height is also provided in the top panel, and I personally find this number less useful for my planning, but it will tell you quickly whether the shadow is longer or shorter than your object's length. Okay, so congratulations, you have now learned the main tools you need in PhotoPills to plan a sun or moon image. So in next week's video, we will plan an image together to bring all these concepts home. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.